So today I'm joined by Phil. Is it Philip or Phil Hirsch?
Philip is okay with one L or Phil, either
Cool,
or.
cool.
I
So
get checks made out to me that way, so it's totally fine.
perfect. So today I'm joined by Philip Hirsch, a professional mascot by trade. Is that the correct term? Is that what you want to go
It
by?
is, or costumed animator.
Yes.
That
Okay.
they're
Yes, I
they're
did see that as well. Yeah, I saw that
yeah.
on your website
So
as well. So
some people don't understand the term mascot, but when they hear costumed animator, then they're like, "Oh, what exactly does that entail?" And you just simply tell them, "Well, it basically means bringing a furry costume to life."
So that's what you do. You're a professional mascot. You're not just a guy in a costume. You play the character
Correct.
as well. So how did you get into that?
Well, believe it or not, I was referred to a company many moons ago doing children's birthday parties. That's how I put myself through school.
Oh,
And
okay.
he said, you have kind of an interesting personality. Could you handle being inside a costume? And I said, yeah, I probably can. And gave it a shot. And then I pretty much became self taught in terms of learning the various techniques because there's an entire language when you speak as a mascot without actually talking. Because
Right.
sometimes you can't use your voice if it's a copywritten character, say like Scooby Doo, as an example, or Bugs Bunny. Naturally, with that, you want to do the voice because I can do those voices too, but in a costume, you can't. So you just have to basically, it's like sign language in a way. But you're just kind of bringing that costume to life by being larger than life and being animated, and sometimes even being subtle, which is also important. There is a fine line, for example, between being on camera as a mascot or costumed animator versus doing live events. Live events, everything is bigger than life. But when you're on camera, you're working on a commercial, a movie, video shoot, industrial, whatever the case might be. Sometimes you got to be within that frame and you
Got
have
it.
to kind of like bring down the energy a bit, still be energized, but just bring it down a hair.
And how did you get from kids' birthday parties to these live events? I mean, to bigger live events and to these TV tapings.
A great question. Usually, what you do is you end up graduating. And once you create your first demo reel, which I did many moons ago, at that point, people see your demo reel. And, back in the good old days, it was sent out through VHS. I
Okay,
know
got it.
most people don't even know what that is. What's a
You
VHS?
you just aged yourself a little bit.
Oh, big time, no doubt. I've been doing this for quite a long time, for sure. So, those were the old days, and getting copies of any kind of footage was a daunting task.
Yeah,
So nowadays, it's so easy because, first of all, if I'm working a live event, chances are somebody's already shot video. You make sure whoever your handler is, the handler is someone that helps you get in and out of the costume. Very important that that person knows what they're doing and if they can actually shoot video of you,
oh, got it.
because you can't shoot video of yourself unless you can get a small little cell phone inside the head of the costume, but it's just not going to look as good versus outside. You want to capture the ambiance, everything around you. So to me that is really crucial, and I'm lucky where I have two demo reels, one for live events and one of course for on camera work.
Got it. And you mentioned having a handler. Can you
Yes.
kind of go into that and explain what that is? Should you always have a handler when you're a mascot at any event?
Yes, and yes.
Got it.
Very important. Now, there are times you may end up working solo, and I've had that happen. And it can be really challenging because then you got to go find a corner, remove your head, make sure to not to take away from that illusion, that fourth wall. Hey, that's someone in there. That can
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
So you want to make sure that you have enough water and everything, protein bars, anything you need, bananas, anything with potassium is good. But the handler helps for a lot of reasons. First of all, you may have limited mobility. Not every costume is built the same.
Right.
So when that happens, your handler can help you go up or down the steps, especially if you can't see. What if there's a bright light, you're inside a theater and you're doing a live event and you just cannot see in front of you? So a good handler has a timer. If you're really going crazy and the cameras are there and you're dancing around and you become winded, that handler has a fan and they
Ah,
can put it right in front of the mouth. So that'll break up that CO2 so you can actually breathe fresh oxygen again. So the handler serves many purposes. I've also been a handler
I was
for
just gonna ask.
mascots.
Yeah, are most handlers mascots as well, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily.
Got it.
Some handlers are mascots. Some handlers are specifically handlers who know what they're doing. And I've had some great handlers over the years. And sometimes you may have a client or a company that decides, well, we're going to cut corners. We're just going to use one of our own employees to be your handler. And you can tell the difference right away because they just don't know what they're doing. They may get lost. They may check their phone. And what if you're surrounded by a bunch of people and you need to get back
Yeah.
to point A because, hey, my break is over. I need water.
Yep. Yep.
So, so important. Cannot stress that enough to anyone out there that is an aspiring mascot. You make sure you have a good handler.
And if I was someone who wanted to get into becoming a mascot, nowadays where would I go? Is there can I go online? Are there communities for that? Do I go to
Um,
acting school for that?
I mean, look, believe it or not, there is an acting school or a mascot school for people. If I could remember, I think it's called Acme
Okay.
Mascots, ACME. Now, I've never been associated with them, but I've had the pleasure of meeting some of these well-known mascots, the Philadelphia Fanatic, for example, the Philly Fanatic, they
Yes.
call them.
Yes. I'm
For
aware of
the
that
for the
mascot. Yes.
Phillies, you have Bernie, who's the Heat mascot. Some of these are well known. The San Diego Chicken. There's so many of them, and so you can learn some basics in terms of being animated, being able to do flips. The Phoenix Suns gorilla can do flips. He can actually jump on a springboard and dunk a basketball. Now, I'm not that advanced. Some people, more power to you. If you can handle that, I think that looks great on a demo reel, no doubt. But I could certainly make costumes come to life. I can ice skate too,
Oh,
which
nice.
I've done, where in fact, if you can see me there in the
Oh,
background,
there it is. Yeah.
that's right. I was the Miami Matadors bull mascot. Miami Matadors is a former East Coast Hockey League team. Unfortunately, they're no longer around, but that was a great moment, no question. And basically, it was myself and another skater who was the matador or mascot. And we would do these on ice sketches, which was quite incredible. And what's nice about being on ice, even if you're hot, all you got to do is skate around a little bit. You're going to have cold pockets of air
Yep.
rushing through the
Yep.
mask.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that helps. But having good ventilation is the key. I think most people, and not saying most, let me rephrase that. Some people who know or have been in a costume, if those people get to design a costume, that'll be your best bet. Sometimes costumes are designed by non-mascots,
Yep.
and they don't realize that, hey, mascots are human. They have to breathe.
Yep. That's a good point. Yeah.
And that is so, so
So
important.
you don't own these costumes.
No,
Typically, the client will provide, is what it sounds like.
that is correct, but I will make an exception. I sometimes also do cosplay work.
Got it. Okay.
So as a cosplayer, you do provide your own costume, you get paid more. And if it's your own costume and you can hand make it, even better. But sometimes it just might require some spandex, some masks, just different types of looks that you can create. But again, if it's your own costume, you know your own costume by heart.
So it sounds
Because,
sounds like comfort is a big thing, and
yeah,
overheating could be a big thing. So how
yeah.
long are your events? How long are sets usually? And do you get a
Um,
lot of breaks?
you do get appropriate breaks. I've done 14-hour days. Sometimes
Oh,
you're working a
wow.
trade show like the Licensing Expo or Sony PlayStation Experience or E3,
Yep.
different shows like that, Playlist Live. So, and I do this all over. I travel across the country doing, or at least I was, pre-COVID.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
when you do shows like that, you just got to really pace yourself. You have to be in good mascot shape.
Yep.
That is important because it can get about 120 degrees in there without
Wow.
exaggerating. So if
Wow.
it's really hot out, if you're outside and it's 100 degrees, add another 20 to 30. I prefer outdoor events, especially when a cold front comes through. So if the high is 55 or 60,
Yeah.
you're okay
Yeah.
because you're going to feel it. You're still going to sweat. But when you have a nice, cold, stiff breeze, boy, oh boy, when that goes through the eyes of your costume, it feels wonderful. It's heaven.
Can we talk about the article behind you? What is
Yeah.
this article and what are you doing in here?
Okay, so this was a long time ago when the Miami Matadors were still a team in the East Coast Hockey League. By the way, they were an affiliate of the Florida Panthers, one of the best hockey teams right now currently in the league, in the NHL. So I was dressed up as the Bull, and as you can see, I got some ice skates there too.
Yeah.
And so obviously, as the Bull, I had to ice skate on ice. So being a mascot on ice was pretty cool. No pun intended. It was fun. Sometimes there would be family days where you would have players skating with their family or just fans, and you're just kind of skating around and having fun, not knocking anybody over or anything like that. But it's a lot of fun. So here I was on a table being interviewed, what it's like being a mascot, for the Miami Matadors, and I was doing other mascotting gigs too. So yeah, this was kind of cool because it's rare to see what people look like behind the scenes.
Yes.
Normally,
Yeah.
you're hidden,
Yeah.
and so in this particular case, I've got a bandana on, and the bandanas are important, or headbands, or balaclavas, or jimmy caps. There's so many different types of headgear that mascots do wear. But the important part, of course, is to keep the perspiration out of your eyes,
Yeah.
because there's nothing worse than sweating into your eyes, having trouble breathing, sweating some more. And boy, that is so incredibly uncomfortable,
Now,
as one could imagine.
did you learn how to ice skate for this role, or were you
No,
already? Oh, you were already a ice skater.
I'm Canadian. I was born with
Oh,
ice skates in
got
the
it.
womb. So
Got it.
yeah, I'm originally from Kansas. You can tell by the accent. Hey, how's it going? So it's I learned how to ice skate. Gosh, as a child, growing way back in the '70s, and then of course I was in a hockey league as well back in the '80s, and then even into the '90s, I was still doing ice skating. So already having that ability helped me book that job. Besides doing the
Yeah.
audition,
Right. Yeah.
so yeah, it is kind of cool, getting to do that and everything. But it was fun. I have great memories, being the bull mascot for sure. And just going to straighten my neck out here because you do that long enough, eventually you're like, oh my God, I feel like I've been mascotting for like 10 hours. But
Right.
yeah, it was a great experience overall.
And
Super nice people.
you said you were self-taught. A lot of what you knew were self-taught.
Yeah.
How do you learn any of this? It sounds like you have so much
Um,
knowledge about it. Is it through trial and error?
Yeah, exactly. It is trial and error. So in some cases, you learn how to do certain maneuvers. There's one where you can just kind of like, I mean, I would do the robot. I know that's so old school, but it is kind of funny seeing a mascot do the robot, doing the whole thing like that and just kind of like shifting your head, or just kind of tapping someone on the shoulder and then just kind of moving around and pretending nothing's happening. But usually I have an expression on my face, even though you can't see it. I mean, I'm completely covered, but it's just a lot of fun doing it. There's certain dances I would do, like there's a Russian dance called a kazatsky, which if you have a chance to see any videos, or I'll let anyone know out there if you could post the links.
Yep.
As Scooby-Doo, I've actually done a kazatsky as which other one was it? Clifford the Big Red Dog. I've also done a Kazatsky. So it's kind of neat when people say it's so bizarre seeing a mascot do this Russian dance,
Right.
but very few can do it. And I can do it either with a head on or without a head on. So it asked me how I learned that. The strangest thing, I was again growing up way back in the '70s. And so we had the former Soviet Union, the Red Army, they called them. They came to the NHL in 1975, 76, and they played various NHL teams.
Got
And,
it.
I was old enough to remember it, but I remember they would show commercials, or they would do behind the scenes of life in the Soviet Union. And you'd see this Russian soldier doing a Kazatsky. And I was fascinated by this. And so when I saw it, I tried to teach that to myself. Of course, I kept falling and falling, but eventually I
Wow.
perfected it.
Yeah.
So who knew that, some 2 decades later, I would end up being able to do a Kazatsky in a costume and having the tape to prove it.
Right.
So
Right.
It's kind of cool doing that. It's my signature patented move, if you will.
Yeah,
But it's a lot of fun. And, when I'm performing and people see that, they don't know what to make of it.
yeah.
They're just kind of blown away. It's kind of cool.
And when you're playing new characters, because you're playing a lot of different characters, how do you study the characters? Do you watch clips online, or are you just aware of the characters themselves because how big they are?
Mostly I'm aware of the character's existence already. I know I can't do the voices for them. I
Right.
wish I
Mm-hmm.
could. It
Mm-hmm.
just would, add so much more realism to it. But when you see the character, you just kind of study their movements, whether it's in cartoons or either live events. I'm not going to certainly steal someone's moves, but I'm just going to say, what would Scooby do? WWSD. And so for me, I would simply realize that Scooby is a little bit mischievous. He loves food. So anytime there's going to be food at an event, I'll pretend as Scooby to be reaching in and then pretending that I didn't get cut with my paw in the cookie jar. So to me, that's important, is to be the character. Once that head is on, you are no longer yourself.
Right.
And it's no different than being a professional actor and voice talent, which I also happen to be as well.
I was just gonna ask. Yeah.
There's that fine line where you're taking on a new persona. And so if you're in the broadcast booth or a voiceover booth and you're just simply in studio and you're voicing a character, you're no longer the same person. You are that character.
And in the mascot world, is there like a dream job for most people? It's like being a mascot for a baseball team, for example, or a basketball team, or I don't know, being a mascot for an event of some sort. Is there a top tier job that everyone's trying to do?
That's a great question, by the way. I've had a chance to be in sports as a mascot, and it is fun. It's bigger than life because you get to feed off that audience,
Yeah.
whether you have 20,000 cheering fans or even a small crowd of 7,500. You still have fans and you feed off their energy. So that is super important. As far as events go, God, there's so many great
Right.
trade shows I've worked. I mean, my God, I've worked internationally as a mascot. I've worked in Asia, in Japan. I've worked in Canada. I've worked across the US. I've done national tours. I've been on stage. So there are a lot of fun ones. But for me, boy, I would have to say either Playlist Live was one of my favorites. Getting to work in Orlando was a lot of fun. E3 in Los Angeles was a major show
Yeah, that's a
to
huge
be a
show.
part of.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. So there are just some great ones out there, and that's why you got to keep track of all this on your resume, because
Yeah.
you're like, did I ever work this show? And then you got to look it up. And you're like, oh my God, I did. It's been 10 years, whatever the case
But
might
that's
be.
because you keep busy, so
Yeah, no, and I do. And plus you get in demand. You have sometimes people reaching out to you, referring you, or you may get a call out of the blue. Hey, someone gave me your number and I saw your demo reel and boy, you really know what you're doing. Could you be available, or could you handle being on a film set for 2 weeks, being in costume? Boy, that would be a good example too. One of my favorite gigs was being Sharky, the mascot for the movie Any Given Sunday.
okay.
That was directed by Oliver Stone. Now, this is a long time ago. This is like in 1999 when we shot this mostly at the old Orange Bowl and in down in Miami. And they shot this in different parts of the country. But when I was there in South Florida, I got to work 2 weeks on this, 13 days almost. And I think I have about 7 seconds of footage in the entire movie.
Oh
So
wow.
it shows you how much editing is done. But the fact that there's 7 seconds in there was great. And the DP, the director of photography, or at least one of them, I don't know if it was the first or second unit, but he was so cool. I'll never forget this. He said, oh, just have fun with this. So basically, I came up with the idea that as the shark, I was going to try to bite the entire cameraman and the camera. But I realized that the camera was too big. And then I changed in mid-direction and took the hat off of the cameraman. And at that point, they added a sound effect like a shark
Oh, that's awesome.
biting into something. So they kept that in the movie. And I was like, oh my God, thank you guys for doing that. Because I almost screwed it up, but I didn't realize, it's not like I'm going to take a tape measure and measure the mouth of the costume.
Right,
But
right.
when I did what I did, they saw that, I couldn't get the camera itself, but rather the hat worked out perfectly. And they were like, print it. That's a print, man. We are good to go.
That's
They were
awesome.
happy. They shot it in one take, and it's like pretty amazing.
That's awesome.
So
And the mascot zone, the
yes,
on your hat, what is that?
themascotzone.com. That is our website. Myself and my other half, her name is Libby. She's also a mascot. You can check out her demo reel too. And so we have everything on there in terms of pictures. You always try to get a picture of yourself in costume, no matter what. Now, sometimes they want you, hey, can you take a picture with yourself with the head off? 99 out of 100 times, that's not going to happen because the costume can sometimes be copywritten, or again, they don't want to break that
Right.
illusion. So on the Mascot Zone, there's, like I said, screen grabs or pictures. Uh, Obviously, they're demo reels and media hits. Media hits are crucial because sometimes your client may not know this, but if you end up on CBS News or anywhere, Fox, whatever the case might be, or end up in a major newspaper, I don't know, the Wall Street Journal or the
Right.
Sun Sentinel, at that point, you're going to see, oh my God, this is so cool. Our company is being mentioned.
Yeah.
So the media
And
hits
it's
are really
working. Yeah.
important.
Right.
It shows that you're working. It shows that you know what you're doing. Plus, hey, kind of like what we're doing now, just conducting this interview.
And
So,
this was very insightful. I'm gonna be
oh,
honest,
thank you.
I never think about the people behind the mascot
Mhm.
costume. And I
Sure.
guess that's on purpose because, like as you were saying, you build this illusion. I only see the character, so it is very insightful, and you brought a lot of information. So I appreciate that so much. So thank you
My
so
pleasure. And I was
much.
going to say in closing, one of the reasons I knew I wanted to do this is a true story. I was at Disney way back in '82, and I met Brer Fox, and very animated, came up to me, and here I am. I'm 13, 14, and all that. And I was kind of fascinated with this, and I just said I could picture myself doing this one day. It was like a little light bulb went off in my head, and like about 10 years later, 11 years later, I started doing this kind of work, and boy, oh boy, it really helped. It not only paid the bills, it gave you free time to do anything else you wanted to do during the week.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool doing that. So just having that one aha moment, it can happen to anybody,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
most mascots are generally friendly. Some can be a little rambunctious or whatever the case might be. But my advice to anyone who's never done this, don't hit mascots. Don't try to punch them or do, because you see people misbehaving, getting inebriated.
Yeah.
It's not only a lack of respect, but it shows that they have no idea what it takes
Yep.
to be inside that costume.
Yep.
So it is so crucial. And but like I said, overall, a majority of the jobs I've done have been amazing. I've gotten to travel to interesting and exotic places, stayed at great hotels, had amazing food, and boy, I'll tell you, and it helps keep you in great shape, and that is also
Yes.
important.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks that way. Yeah. Cool. Is there anything else you want to plug before we head off?
Oh, let's see. Well, besides the mascotzone.com, it is our site. So we always encourage people, especially potential clients or even existing clients, to check out our latest demo reels.
Awesome.
But yeah, the mascotzone.com.
Awesome. Yeah, and I saw your demo reel. Very impressive. I was
Well,
super
thank you.
excited when I saw it. There's a few events. I think you did WWE, NXT.
SummerSlam. Yeah, I
Yep.
did that with a few celebrities. Oh, yeah, celebrities are important too. I've
Yeah.
worked with a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so it is kind of cool, working with people like Caesar Milan, John Cena, the late Larry King, God rest
Yes.
his soul.
That's amazing.
I got to work with him as well, The Miz, among others. So sometimes you just never know which celebrities are going to be there. But it is super cool. And more importantly, when you are an animated character, sometimes you get to meet the creator
Oh,
of
wow.
that character.
Yeah.
That one of my favorite moments. It was in New York at I wish I could remember the name of Schwartz. Darn, it's a children's bookstore. FAO Schwartz.
Oh,
Good thing I
yes.
remembered it.
Hmm.
I got to meet the late great Norman Bridwell, who is the creator of Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Wow.
So here I am as Clifford, getting to meet the creator. So that to me major league highlight, no question about that.
That's
And
amazing.
I met Curly Neal, former Harlem Globetrotter as well, among others. So you do meet a lot of celebrities along the way.
Sounds like you've had a very interesting career.
And I've
And
lost weight in the process,
that's
because you are
perfect.
going to lose
That's
weight.
the
Let me tell
dream,
you.
right? That's the
That's the
dream.
dream. Who needs Jenny Craig when you could just don a costume and shed 5 pounds of water weight each time you go out there?
There you go.
So
Cool. Well, thank you for coming on my channel and talking
my
about your
pleasure.
career. It's very interesting. I know so many people are going to find this so interesting. So, thank you for kind of, opening the curtains a little and letting us see behind the scenes. It's so interesting. Thank you so much for
Oh,
joining.